Alright, so we're going to revisit the Fetrotech ECU removal tool. Alright, and the reason is because I started playing with it, and I went to the hardware store, and I got some nuts, right? So I started playing with it, and I noticed that while the it was like an M5 would fit on that on it, it was loose. So a 1032 was the next closest thing, which was standard, and it was really tight. So I would figure that it's most likely metric, right? Because of course it comes from China. So most stuff over there is going to be in the metric system. But you know, I could see this being a metric thread pitch. And with some of them being bigger and smaller, that was maybe one of the smaller ones I had. So therefore, it would have probably fit perfect if it was an M5, right? So is what I done was I actually went to the hardware store, and so I cut off. I basically took some screws and I cut them off. And these are stainless, and we're going to actually see if this works. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm just kind of curious at this point. Will these hold off better than those did? I don't know because they don't have relief cuts in them or anything like that. This is just kind of a prototype thing I was going to work on to try to see if it would work any better. So let me go to the other camera and I'll show you kind of a little bit more about this. When we take this apart, it wasn't really bad. Just took a pair of channel locks there, and I just grabbed this, and it just screwed out. So all this is really a stud, and then they've machined this tip here so that it fits in there, right? And then you can see they've put these little reliefs in it. Oh, there we go. They've put these reliefs in it. And these are going to be kind of like with a tap, you know, so it can allow that extra metal to come out of there as it's creating those threads. Now, one thing I kind of wonder is it seems like we've got tighter and it wanted to strip once we got to the top of this. So could it be that these maybe should just be extended further up here and they would work better? I don't know. But as what I've done is I went to the hardware store and I've got some machine screws, and I just cut the head off, and then I grounded it, and then I screwed them in here. And the way I done that was, you know, just take 2 nuts, put it on the stud, right? We'll just take one, put it there, and then you take the next one, and then you just take a wrench, and then you just tighten these up in opposite directions, and then you should be able to take a wrench, put it on one, and then screw it actually into here, just like that. So I've got 4 of these that I've done this way, and then I've got another one of those PCMs that we originally were trying to do, that last one there that just had 4 screws. So I'm going to heat this up, and I'm going to try these, and I want to see if they will bite, because I just played just a little bit with the other one, and the one that was stripped, these seem to fit and bite a little bit on. So I think this might actually work. I do not know for sure, though. We're about to find out. So the first thing we're going to do is, of course, take these screws back out. Which this is not the original PCM we fooled with. Let's just make sure there's no weird... Because I've grabbed so many Bosch PCMs over there, there's no telling. But it doesn't look like this has had any kind of... It does have some kind of indention there. But this one doesn't look like it's had any kind of tool put in it or anything like that. And let's just see if this thing will even start to bite. I'm not even... So that is one thing, is it seems like these don't want to start as easily. But if I press it in there, it goes. If I press it in there, it will go. So I just got to press it. All right, so we'll do it like that. Get the rest of these in here. I'm going to heat it up. Let's press this one in there real good. You know, I had to press the other ones too, so I don't think this handle is all the way screwed, because you can see this handle's starting to go on more because I didn't get this one screwed all the way. yeah, I think this actually may work actually better. So let's try it out and see here. I want to get all the rest of these in here. I'm going to start heating this up, and I'll come back once we're done heating it up. All right. Just give it a little bit more heat here. Right? We're just going to go across it again. And it's pretty warm now. I've been warming it up here for a minute. So now, you know, the last time I done the quarter turns, and I think that was doing the best. I want to just mark these though, because last time I kind of wanted to get a little bit too ahead of myself. So I'm just going to put some little marks on these this time. So that way I'm not turning them more than a quarter of a turn to try to get, you know, some reference points or anything like that. I'm just going to turn them a true quarter of a turn, and we will see what happens. So that one there, quarter of a turn. This one here, quarter of a turn. And we're just going to do just like we done before. We're going to slowly work this thing. Now this one I'm going to turn just a tad bit, because this one I know was that one that the handle wasn't all the way down, because I felt that thing give there. So go a quarter here, quarter here, quarter here. I'm going to go a little bit further on that one too. That one there, because that one there for sure is that handle is just not all the way down. I couldn't get it. I didn't have 2 wrenches that size for some reason. So we'll go another quarter of a turn, another quarter of a turn, another quarter of a turn. Let's go a quarter of a turn. That time it actually went. Quarter of a turn here. Right, let's go a quarter of a turn here. You know what? This may actually be working better. Oh my. So now we seem to be getting a lot better of a bite here. You know, I don't feel anything that feels like, you know, it's going to go crazy. Because here's the thing is, we're not trying to get it all the way off. It's just enough to pry it without bending the case up. Because, you know, there's some adhesive under there. I noticed when the Magic, they have this like dissolver stuff that they put in there that eats the adhesive. I'd be really, you know, kind of wondering what that is. You know, if it's just acetone or something like that, or rubbing alcohol, who knows what it may be. Or if it's actually some kind of special solution that they have made to actually eat that stuff. But I mean, these things are holding pretty dang tough. I mean, this is totally worlds apart from the first time that we actually, you know, done this. I'm going to take this one more quarter turn, and I'm going to stop here, and I want to start to look here. So we are actually, you know, we're starting to come up. You know, starting there. I'm starting there. You know, this one here looks like it's up the most out of all of them. So this one I probably don't need to turn as much. Let's go ahead and take this one another quarter turn. Try to get it matched up, because we want to keep them all the same height, right? So we'll get it. Let's take this one. And that one, this one looks like it needs to be turned just a tad bit more to be level, or matched up, I guess we'd say. Yeah, but these things are holding a lot better than, you know, that first go around that we done with those other tools. So I'm starting to wonder, you know, if it's just this method does work. It's just if the machining on those was just horrible, because these are just, you know, stainless screws. Machine screws from Home Depot. These are nothing special I'm putting in here. This isn't like it's, you know, some awesome thing. Now, I will say, as we're starting to see this one, do you start to see how this is leaning? So this is one thing that you're going to need that tip for. I see that now, is because that tip isn't really to keep you from bottoming out here is, and it's like you're riding on this tip to keep that from going. Really is what this tip for, is to keep this thing straight. Because now that we're starting to pry it out, it's starting to want to take the path of least resistance, which is going to be to cock it like that, right? So as you see, this one's starting to do the same thing. These two seem pretty straight though, so I'm just going to keep going with it. We're just going to go with it until you know we can't go anymore. We may stop here in a minute and heat this thing up, because you know we have went a lot further than we have gotten with the other tools. So that is very surprising, and you know, that is very. I mean, look at this thing. It just keeps going and keeps going. I think it's going to work out. So at this point, this is a lot farther than we got with the other tool. I think we're just going to heat it some more. All right, so we're on our second heat now. And, you know, this is really looking promising. I have to say, this is looking promising. It seems like we're making good progress, so we're just going to keep going, you know, at our quarter of a turn, and see, you know, just see what happens, right? Oh, come on, let's get this one. There we go. That one got a little bit, that one got hard, like real hard there for a second. All right, now these two here, these two are starting to get really, really wonky, because this one here looks like it's just bending. This one here is kind of the same. It's wanting to give me a little bit of problems. It looks like it's just bending up. But this one here, I mean, you can see that right there has pulled that back up already. Look at that, right? So if I screw this one a little bit tighter, let's see where we get. I mean, this thing is pulling that up, and this is actually bending the metal a little bit, but nothing like too wild and crazy. It's going to kind of work that one, work this one, and I'll see where we're at. Because, I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of like wondering, what's the point of failure, right? At what point does that fail? This one finally stripped right here. And I had it up a pretty good bit, too. So it looks like that one went up about yay high. Right. Had a lot more bite on it the whole entire time, though. So now if we was to just take one of those, and see, that's the one I marked with white, that was bigger, right? So if I was to take that and put it back in that hole, as you see, look how the difference, you know. Yeah, it's definitely just not going to bite. So these are actually bigger, and they seem to be doing a better job. So I would say if, you know, we kept continued, which these are not, you know, these aren't perfectly machined or anything like that, and they don't have the guides. So as you can see, like they're starting to like really, they're kind of angling, right? So when they start getting that pressure on them, they don't have this here to keep it straight. So it starts to take the path of least resistance, you know, and that one there is stripped now. And when you start moving this thing side to side, that really is really gonna make a difference. Now this one just keeps going. I mean, this one doesn't seem like it's ever gonna stop. This one here, oh, it finally went about to about the same spot there. It pulled up, but it did strip. Now this one here, I think it's going to go all the way to the top. Which, you know, you just need to get it up like that so you can pry it. That was the whole point. So that one went up pretty high, higher than the rest of them, and then it stripped out, of course. But, you know, that's going to happen. That aluminum can only take so much, and you can only put so much pressure, but you figured it went this high. And that's really probably how high you need to get them all, is at least get them to this point here. So you figure if we put like a release in this, if we had more bite force to this maybe, I think there is room for improvement and these can actually be made better. So, I don't know though. We're just going to have to play with these and see what we can make happen. Because I really think though, this was, that was probably the best we've been able to get one of these to actually attempt to get it off, right? Maybe if we was to go slower, maybe if we were to use more heat, maybe if we were to do more, maybe like put the dissolving stuff in it that Magic has, or find something similar to that, then we could have actually got this one off. But I mean, look, there was nothing else that gripped them so well that it actually brought it up that much. None of those other ones gave way before the point that they would get this one to the point it went. So how does the modified version stack up against the original? So what would be the rating for the modified versus the original, right? Well, here's the thing. We've now located the problem, right? And that is the fact of, well, all these aren't the same size. Some of them are bigger than the other. And they're not, they look hardened, right? But they're not hardened, because as we can see, just what little bit of use we had, it's already starting to wear those threads, right? So when we go to something like a stainless, we get a stainless bolt, or a machine screw actually, and we use it, we notice that it does grip better, because it's going to hold that edge better, and it's actually going to hold that bite better. But when we go with something that holds a true tolerance, we're also going to get a better result. Now, the problem we did have though is we don't have this. So this here is actually going to be to keep this tool straight, because that was our problem. So when this is in here, and this is inserted in here, right? There you go. So when this is in here, this tool is going to stay straight. As our other ones were going sideways, as you see, this is totally stripped out, and I can't really push it that far sideways or this way. So that guide that keeps it straight, that is a very vital part of this. Now, I don't have that in my version, and that's why when I stuck it in here, it started to go sideways on me like this here. As you can see, this is, that's flat, and as you can see, it was curving that way. And it could go any which way because it doesn't have that guide to keep it straight up. Now, the problem with that is when you actually begin to distort this, you're actually going to lose your bite strength. So you do not want to distort it. You want to keep it as flat as possible. And to do that, we need to keep the tool up and down as much as possible. So as far as doing these, we take them out, right? And if we were just to cut the heads off just like I done, I used a M5-08 0.8 times. I used a 45 millimeter, even though these are 40s. I used a 45 millimeter stainless. All I done was just take a saw, like a little air saw, cut the head off of this, took a grinder, round it down, and then I just stuck it in here. But if you really wanted to make this tool good, is what you could do is basically that, but then go to a lathe, right? And then you would put you a pilot here to keep this straight. Now, I think if you done that, you would have a pretty decent tool. There is some things you could maybe do, like you could maybe put a taper on it to where it gets bigger as it goes up, things of that nature. But I really think that if you just used a good quality machine screw, and you put some kind of guide to keep this thing straight, I think that these could actually be modified to work very well for this scenario. I don't know. I'm gonna keep playing with them though, because I think there's something here. I just haven't got to that point where I'm like, oh, that's it right there. You know, that's it. But I think that there is probably a very easy and cheap solution to actually maybe make these actually work. So we'll have to change this from the China Tool review to the China Tool modification, because we're going to make this work. So what would I rate? These got rated 2 stars because they just didn't really function like they had been said they would, right? Now this, I'm going to give this 3 stars. It's not because I done it or anything like that. It's because even though these did start to tilt on us, right? So if you was to just be very mindful to keep them straight and hold them or something, right? Or find some way to do that, then you would be better off. But I'm going to give them 3 stars because they actually done a better job lifting that cover than the tools designed for it. So I'm going to give these 3 stars, 3 China stars. So that's going to be, let's get it there, where they're going to get 1 big star and 2 little stars, right? For the modified version. Now, who knows? Maybe if we take this, we turn it down on the lathe, we get these things to where they work really well. We put some cut release in them, right? Maybe then they'll be a 4-star, maybe even a 5-star tool. Who knows? But as of where they're at right now, it's a 3-star tool. So once again, I greatly appreciate everybody that watched this video. Y'all have a nice day, and just remember, there's money out here in these streets.